You finally got the pay rise, the one you had been chasing for years. You ran the numbers in your head and you thought, this is it. This is the one that makes me feel like I have made it. Then a few months roll past. The extra money lands in your account week after week, and you feel exactly the same, maybe even a little tighter than you did before. So you start asking yourself the question, am I behind? Am I earning enough? Is everyone else somehow doing better than me? And here is the thing, that is the wrong question entirely, because you are not behind. The finish line moved. It moved years ago, and almost nobody stops to explain that to you. So let us actually explain it now. First, let us find where you really stand. When someone says the average Aussie wage, they could mean four completely different numbers. And those numbers are thousands of dollars apart. The Bureau of Statistics says the average full-time wage back in November 2025 was about $106,000 a year. That is the figure the news loves to quote. But measured a fairer way, the typical full-time worker earns closer to $90,000. And if you count everyone, full-time and part-time together, the middle wage drops to about $74,000. Look across every single person who lodges a tax return, and the middle income is just $58,000 a year. Same country, same year, wildly different numbers. So here is something that might surprise you. If your income has a 6 or even a 5, at the front of it, you are already sitting above the middle of the country, not behind it, ahead of it. And yet you still feel like you are treading water. That feeling is real. It is not in your head. But it has almost nothing to do with the number on your payslip. Here is the truth nobody tells you. The average wage used to buy an average life. A house, a car, a family, the odd holiday. Today, it buys a fraction of one. The clearest proof is the roof over your head. Right now, the typical Australian home is worth about $920,000. That is the national median as of early 2026. Put those two numbers side by side. The average full-time wage is $106,000. The typical home is $920,000. That is nearly 9 times a single salary. Now here is the part that should stop you cold. On the average full-time wage, on your own, you can no longer buy a typical house in a single Australian capital city. Not one of them. Say that number out loud again. $920,000, just for the middle home in the country. On the average full-time wage, that is close to 9 years of your whole salary before you have paid for a thing. A generation ago, your parents bought a home on one wage, one income, one earner. Today, 2 solid incomes together often cannot clear the same hurdle. That is how far the line has moved. 3 years ago, about 43% of middle-income households could afford the middle home. Today, that number is 14%. The door did not slowly creep shut. It slammed. Picture a couple in Western Sydney or the outer suburbs of Melbourne, both working full-time, doing everything right. On today's prices, saving a 20% deposit takes them roughly 11 years. 11 years just for the key in the door. And it is not just houses. There is a quieter thief working the other end of your pay packet. It even has a name, bracket creep, and it picks your pocket every single year. Here is how it works. Your pay rises to keep up with the cost of living, but the tax brackets do not move with it. So each raise pushes more of your money into a higher rate. In Australia, the top tax bracket now starts at $190,000. That is barely twice the typical full-time wage. The rate built for the wealthy is creeping toward the middle. The government did cut the bottom tax rate to 15% from July 2026, which helps a little. But the brackets still are not locked to inflation, so the creep just keeps going. Run the numbers over the last 5 years and something uncomfortable shows up. The typical wage went up on paper, but after tax and after prices rose, what actually landed in your pocket barely moved, because everything else climbed with it. The weekly shop at Coles and Woolies, the rent, the servo. You ran up the down escalator and wondered why you were still standing on the same step. And this is where the real story lives. because it was never really about the numbers at all. It is about the story we tell ourselves in this country about money and hard work. Australians are proud workers. We admire the grind. Have a go. Do it tough. Earn your way. It is a good instinct, and it has built a lot of good lives in this country. But somewhere along the way, we made the pay slip the scoreboard. We decided earning more was always the answer. That the next promotion was the thing that would finally make us feel secure. So we chase the raise. We take the extra shifts. We pin our whole sense of worth to a number. And then we finally cross that number, and it feels like absolutely nothing. It felt like nothing because it was never a finish line. Someone quietly put the line on wheels. Every time you reach it, it rolls a little further up the hill. There is always another rung. It gets worse because we do not talk about money here. Nobody tells you what they actually earn. So everyone benchmarks in the dark, quietly assuming the whole street is doing better than they are. And that silence is the trap. You compare your messy real life to everyone else's tidy outside, and you decide you are the one falling behind, when almost everyone feels exactly the same as you. So let us bring it all back together. You are not behind. You did not take a wrong turn somewhere. The ground shifted under an entire generation, and nobody ever sent the memo. That is not a reason to throw your hands up. It is permission to stop measuring your life against a number that was quietly rigged before you even started running. Because here is the lever that still works, no matter which rung you happen to be standing on. It was never the size of your income. It is the gap. What comes in versus what slips back out. Someone on 70,000 who quietly keeps a little and puts it to work will run rings around someone on 150 who spends every cent, every single time. That is not a pep talk. That is maths. Think back to that pay rise at the very start. The one that felt like nothing. It felt like nothing because a bigger income poured into the same old life just disappears without a trace. The finish line was never the income. The real question was never, am I earning enough? It is this: what life do I actually want, and what is the gap I need to close to reach it? Answer that one honestly, and the whole game changes. You stop sprinting at a line on wheels, and you start quietly building something that is actually yours, at whatever number you are on today. If this shifted how you see your own pay packet, even slightly, give it a like. It genuinely helps this kind of honest money talk reach more Australians who need to hear it. Subscribe if you want more of it, tap the bell so the next one finds you, and I will see you in the next one. Take care of yourself.